Hello everyone, my name is Logan Carmody. This is my IT250 Spring 2025 project on penetration testing with Burp Suite Community Edition. Over the next half hour or so, I'll be showing you guys how professional testers place Burp between their browser and a target site, and how they intercept traffic and manually prove high impact flaws. We're going to be staying entirely in a safe, self-hosted lab so you can replicate the steps on your own laptop. Currently, I'm simulating the role of a junior pen tester about to join a consulting team, and everything you're going to see from this PowerPoint to the GitHub repo is designed to double as a job search portfolio. By the end of this presentation, you should understand why Burp is an industry standard, how two core features work, and how a single SQL injection can break an e-commerce login. First, let's start with the agenda so you can see the roadmap. Here's how this presentation will go. First, a quick refresher on what a web application penetration tester actually does, and why Burp Suite is the go-to toolkit. Second, we'll zoom into two Burp Suite's key features, the intercepting proxy and the repeater, because mastering these tools helps to unlock almost every other tool in Burp's workflow. Third, we'll ground these tools in a real-world use case, bypassing the log of an OWASP juice shop, which is a deliberately vulnerable demo store. Fourth, I'll outline the exact demo steps so you know what to watch for when the screen recording rolls. Finally, we'll be wrapping up with key takeaways, career links, and references you can bookmark for deeper study. If you're currently following along, feel free to ask any questions. You could drop them in the comments below, and I'll be addressing them after. And next, why do pros swear by Burp? One question you may be asking is, why Burp for pen testers? Think of a web pen tester as a hired hacker who probes sites before criminals do. Most attacks start in the browser, so the first job is to see and tamper with every request the browser sends. This is where Burp's sweet spot is. It spins up a local proxy listener around a port 8080, and then it routes traffic from its built-in Chromium browser straight through the tool. With interception on in Burp Suite, you can pause a login request, flip a hidden field, and watch the server's raw response, all without touching production data. If you read job ads from companies such as BugCrowd or NCC Group, Burp Suite proficiency is listed right next to other skills like Python or Linux. And the best part for students, the free community edition includes all the manual tools we need, so everything in this presentation costs $0. Now time for our first feature, intercepting proxy. The intercepting proxy is Burp's beating heart. When intercept is on, Burp freezes every HTTP or HTTPS request, giving you a chance to inspect headers, cookies, and hidden form fields that browsers normally whisk away. Want to see how a site tracks your session? It's right there. You need to change a role ID equals 2 to 1 to test for horizontal privilege escalation. Just edit and forward. Because Burp sits in the middle, it also logs your untouched response, so you can prove exactly how the server reacted. Portswigger's own docs call the proxy an essential component of Burp Suite's user-driven workflow. And virtually every OWASP top 10 weakness, from broken access control to cross-site request forgery, starts with an interceptor request. Now, here's the 5-step dance we'll be perform in the demo. First, we're going to launch Burp's embedded browser so we don't have to fiddle with system proxies. Second, we're going to make sure that the orange banner in the intercept tab says intercept on. Third, we're going to be browsing to Juice Shop and then pause the HTTP post to REST user login. Fourth, we're going to be reading the JSON body and then forwarding it to untouched to show the normal invalid login response. And then lastly, we're going to optionally tweak a parameter, like changing an isAdmin flag before forwarding and observe any change. These 5 steps form muscle memory that you can reuse on basically any test in Burp Suite. Forward, edit, forward, observe, and repeat. Once you catch an interesting request, you'll be sending it to another tool, usually the repeater, for deeper exploration. Speaking of the repeater, let's dig deeper into that. For our second core feature is the repeater. The repeater is Burp's scratchpad. Instead of coping with live traffic, you copy a single request into repeater, tweak it endlessly, and hit send as many times as you need. Each tab keeps its own history, so you can compare server responses side by side, which is perfect for spotting a status code flip from say 401 to 200, or even a tiny error string that leaks SQL details. Repeater handles HTTP, HTTPS, and even WebSocket messages, which means it scales to modern single-page apps. Portswigger's guide describes Repeater as the place to modify and manually resend a HTTP request, which is basically just a fancy way of saying fuzz by hand until something breaks. It's the human creativity layer that basically just automates scanners, or basically that's automated that scanners cannot replace. Now, time to get into the workflow. First, you're going to want to right-click that captured post message that you get in proxy, and then right-click it and then send to repeater. Once you do this, a new tab's going to open. You're going to want to think of this as basically a sandbox copy. Once you have this going, you're going to want to click send, and then with no changes, you're going to see the baseline 401 unauthorized. After this, you're going to want to replace the password field with a single quote to trigger an error. The response now leaks a verbose SQL stack trace, which is some great intel. Fourth, you're going to want to swap in or 1 equals 1, negative, negative, and hit send again. And then if the status here flips to 200 OK and the body returns a JSON web token, you basically just proven that there's an authentication bypass in the code. Because each attempt stays in its own numbered request, you can quickly differentiate responses, take screenshots, and later paste clear evidence into a client report. Now let's ground those features in a real scenario. Imagine a startup e-commerce site that wants a penetration test before launch. They're going to be giving us scope permission on staging URL. And what we're going to do is we're going to want to spin up Juice Shop locally. And what it's going to do is mirror that tech stack, and then it's going to be intentionally riddled with OWASP's top 10 issues. But our main and single objective pretty much is to test the login form for SQL injection. Proxy will snatch the post request, and then repeater will tweak the JSON payload, and then an injected or 1 equals 1 dash dash should grant admin access. In the real world, that's an immediate critical finding with high business impact. Any anonymous attacker could command your user account, steal orders, or dump the database. That's why injection still ranks as high as it does on OWASP's list. Before I get into the lab recording of the demonstration, here's the lab recipe for anyone watching so that they can follow along. First, you're going to want to install Docker Desktop. Secondly, you're going to want to run docker run /d/p 3000 b comminage /juiceshop. And what this is going to do is going to launch JuiceShop on localhost. And then once you have JuiceShop running, you're going to want to open Burp Suite Community Edition. And then what this is going to do, or once you're in Burp Suite, you're going to want to open browser and then access Burp's local built-in browser, Chromium browser. This browser auto trusts Burp's root certificate, so HTTPS interception just works. And then once you have the browser running, you're going to want to define the target scope to localhost 3000, which is the port we already chosen. This is going to avoid any accidental capture of any cloud tabs. And then with this, we're basically just going to have a safe playground that mirrors professional testing environments, but carries zero legal risk. Here's exactly what we're going to see in the recorded demo that's coming up shortly. The first thing that's going to be in the demo is that we're going to start the Docker container and verify JuiceShop loads. And then step 2 is we're going to switch to Burp, and we're going to confirm that intercept is on. Next, we're going to want to submit any invalid creds on the login page, and then watch Burp pause the request. Once they pause it, you're going to want to go back to Burp Suite and then forward it untouched to show the 401 in the browser. And then once you get that request, which should be a post request, you're going to want to send it, right-click it and send it to repeater. And then once it's sent to repeater, you're going to want to go in and then check for the email field. And you're going to want to replace this email field with from what you originally entered to now you're going to want to enter or 1 equals 1 dash dash and click send. Once you click send, you should be observing a 200 OK message on the right side of the screen. And then at the bottom of that text, you're going to see a JSON token, which you can then copy into local storage. And then boom, you're now logged in as admin. And then after that, you just want to take two evidence screenshots, one of the 200 OK and burp, and then one of the admin dashboard to drop into your final report. And then the total runtime for the sequence is under 8 minutes. All right, let's wrap up the key lessons. Mastering proxy and repeater gives you 80% of burp's manual power, and then manual testing is what sets great pen testers apart from automated scanners. We mapped our attack directly to OWASP's top 10 AO3 injection, giving the finding both technical and compliance weight. All artifacts, the slide, demo script, Docker Compose, and evidence will be living in a GitHub repo that you can clone, fork, or show a hiring manager. Next steps, if you want to level up your knowledge or experience, is to explore burps extensions like Autorize for broken access control tests, or even go ahead and try the professional edition scanner. Once again, thank you for watching. Questions are welcome as GitHub issues or LinkedIn messages. And now time for references. Professional reporting needs proper citations. For the tool mechanics I referenced, Portswicker's official docs. Specifically, the April 29, 2025 articles on intercepting traffic and reissuing requests. For risk context, I cited the OWASP Foundation's 2021 top 10, which still ranks injection in the top 3. Finally, I followed our own IT250 project guidelines for deliverable format and timing. All these links appear in the PDF version of this deck and in the repos README. Thank you for your time and happy hacking. Hi, I'm Logan, and in the next few minutes I'll be demonstrating how to break into OWASP's Juicetrap login using only Burp Suite Community Edition. Everything that we're going to be doing in this video will be happening locally in Docker, so don't worry, everything is safe and legal. Getting into it, our first step is going to be to spin up our target. To do so, we want to type in this line. It's Docker space run /d or -d --name and then juice and then -p and then 3000 b image /juice dash shop and then press enter, and that'll go ahead and create our target. And then once we enter this and we get that to return, we're just going to want to head over to our Burp Suite and boot up the browser. Once our browser is up and running, we're going to want to type in this to the address bar, http dash localhost 3000 and then hashtag or pound /login. And then now that we're here, you're going to want to head back to Burp Suite and start capturing or intercepting all the traffic that comes in the browser. And then just as an example, I'll just type in email.com and then I'll type in password to this. You can see, and then click login and then forward, and it's not going to work. And then once you get the post method here, this post packet or request, you're going to want to go ahead and click it and inspect it. Once you see this HTTP localhost 3000 rest/user.login. You're going to want to left or right click it and send to repeater, and you can turn off intercepting now. And then when you go to look at that request in your repeater, you're going to see this big block of text on your left side, and you're going to see two fields, email and password. What we're going to be changing here is the password pad. We're going to want to, or no, the email value. And once you find the email, you're going to want to delete it and then replace it with this, a single quote, and then a space, and then capital OR, and then a 1, equal sign, 1, and then 2 dashes. And then once you have this entered in, you can go ahead and click send, and then you'll see that you get an HTTP 200 OK response. That means that you were successful. And then once this response pops up, you're going to see a lot more text, but what you're going to want to be focusing on is the token here. Once you get this token, you're going to want to go ahead and copy it, and then make sure you copy it without any quotation marks. So I'm just going to go ahead and copy that. And then once you have this copied, you're going to want to go back to your Burp Suite browser, and then once you're here, you're going to want to go to your inspect settings or developer settings. And then once you're in here, you're going to want to look up here in the top bar and then click on application and then head down to local storage. Well, you're going to see this here, but we're going to be adding more. For the first one, you're just going to want to name it token, and then you'll just be pasting in what we just copied from Burp Suite. Once that's copied in and entered there, just click enter, and then you're going to want to open up another one of these. It's kind of hard to get selected. And then you're going to want to name this one email. And then you're going to want to add in the email that was in Burp Suite, which is this. And then just go ahead and copy that. Forgot the P. And then once you got both of these entered in, you can just go ahead and close DevTools. And then we're going to go ahead and refresh the page. And then boom, you should see this basket in the top right, and that means that we've been successfully logged in. And then yeah, congratulations, you just completed your first SQL exploit. But even though we're logged in, we're not really done yet, because we still need to make sure that the lab shut down. So you're going to want to head back to your PowerShell, and then you're just going to want to type this in, docker stop juice, and then that'll pop up, and then you're going to want to type in docker rm juice, and this will just basically stop and remove juice uh, when you're done. And then once those are done, then yeah, that's your entire exploit um, for Burp Suite Community Edition, and thank you for watching.